Hey guys, welcome back to this beautiful channel. It is me, the Chainsaw Maniac, and today I'm going to be starting a little YouTube playlist on the lore of Merchant of Ignitius, which is my current webcomic that's out on Webtoon and Tapper, so you guys can check it out. So you can also head down, like, subscribe, as well as notify yourself on any other content you would like to see from this channel, as well as give your comments and opinions of what you think of the lore and story of my webcomic, inconsistencies, as well as many other things we can discuss in the comment section. It really helps out, and I really appreciate you guys' support. But for now, we're going to be diving into the lore of Merchant of Ignitius, where I'll mainly be discussing in this video more or less the overall events that has happened so far in the first season, as well as certain aspects that I feel are key points in telling the story, as well as interesting facts about the world of the Merchant of Ignitius and how certain things work. I won't be discussing in-depth magical systems, as well as many of the character equipment and magic they use. I think I'll do that in a separate video, or maybe a separate series where I'll be discussing or analyzing the characters, my OCs in general, and what exactly they can do, how their ability works. And I will also think I'll be doing a spell series or magic series where I'll be discussing certain magical things that happens in the series and it isn't really explained or expounded upon, and it's just to add to that and explain certain things and how certain spells work. I thought it would be interesting to do separate videos about that, as well as I don't want to overflow this video with information and then it will just be a giant info dump for you guys. So that's just a little briefing of what the video is going to be about. Now let's get right into the meat and potatoes of this great meal. And we start off with what's known as the Battle of the Burning Forest between the Black Dragon King and the Crimson Maiden. In this point of the timeline, I have arranged the timeline in a specific way, and just to make things easier, I've made a certain measurement of time that will keep things more consistent and just help us along as we explain this. So this point in time is called the ABBF, the zero event of ABBF. What ABBF is after the Battle of the Burning Forest, and so rightfully it will be named, this will be year 0 of ABBF, because this is exactly when it started. So this is also the end of the First Great War, as well as the start of the First Great War. So it's a giant war that happened in a span of, like, I don't know, a week or something. So I'll expand probably more or less. That's kind of what I have right now on it, but I'll expand later on once I get to that point in the storyline. Right now I'm not even there. I think it'll be better just to discuss this using the map of the world, which I'll be popping up on the screen. Now this is what I've gotten so far for the map of the world of the Merchant of Ignitius. As you can see, we have many islands as well as many lands that have been separated by borders. So each specific land has their elemental basis for their magic systems. So people obviously who live in the Kingdom of Fire will have mostly fire-like powers or fire-like magic systems. They will use all types of different forms of fire magic, as well as wind magic if you live in the Kingdom of Wind, where you'll just mostly use wind magic. Now obviously there are people in these nations who can also use dual magic as well. So there's some people who can use fire and lightning, some people who can use earth and dark. They can basically use the power systems that's adjacent to their predominant nature. I'll go more in depth on the magic systems of this world when I make that video, but for now this is kind of the map. So actually, if you look here in the center, you can see Ignitius, which is just kind of like a floating island, which is here in the center. And here's a neutral zone. This which will be discussed in a latest episode of this. Well, not discussed. I will kind of show off what exactly this place is in the final episode. So what this neutral zone is basically there's no real consistency with this land in terms of its magical elements and everything, because this neutral zone, I haven't actually gave it a name, but so far I think it's known as the Silver Fortress, from what I understand. Now there are people on the lands who are exiled and from the land, and they kind of accumulate in this center point right here. That's all the information I have so far and what I've come up with so far. I think I'll discuss that more once I flesh it out a bit more, but that's kind of the idea that I had for the world. It's not kind of fleshed out fully yet. At this point in the story, it's not really that important, but I thought I will kind of give you an idea of how the world kind of looks and everything. And no, it's not flat. It's just, I just kind of thought it would be easier to put this out this way. The world is pretty much round as much as our world is round. So it works the same for the most part in terms of its shape, as well as physics and whatever. I guess you can say it's kind of similar, but not really, because there's a lot of magic and craziness going on, so you can't really say it's the same thing, but similar world. Okay, so heading back to the Battle of the Burning Forest, this is also where the entire Black Dragon clan was wiped out, as well as this marks the death of Bowsan, which is also a very prominent figure in the Merchant of Ignitius universe, which you will come to learn once I get to that point and I discuss who exactly he is. And I will definitely get into that as soon as we hit the later points of this video. So after, you know, the Crimson Maiden and the Black Dragon King battle it out, so noticing that he has no chance, the Black Dragon King then seals himself as well as the Crimson Maiden into the sword, which is then surrounded by fire. Now note, this fire all around the sword is actually a flame seal, which kind of seals anything that's within the flame, which kind of just engulfs it in this like sealing type of fire, which is basically the idea I had. So you can't really enter this flame because the heat is so immense, as well as it's a sealing form of magic, and there are some crazy shit that can happen if you step in or even reach out to this fire, as well as even get into a close proximity with this fire. As we see later on in the series, the Merchant of Ignitius, the current one, can't even get close to it without the heat wave pushing him back. So, very powerful spell. Now we hop 20 years into the present day. So now on the ABBF timeline, this is 20 years on the present time, so it's 20 ABBF. This is when the merchant arrives, and it seems he found a way to negate the fire's effects. He uses something which I cannot discuss now, it will take way too long, but I'll briefly discuss it. I think I will do a video on this exact item. It's called a Mana Coffin. Now there's many questions that arise from this, because the Merchant of Ignitius cannot use any form of magic. However, this seems like magic. It does. Now, what the Mana Coffin is, I can't really spoil it for now, but just briefly what it can do. The Mana Coffin has 8 chambers. Each chamber of the Mana Coffin holds a specific type of spell, or I guess some sort of magic, by calling out to the Mana Coffin, basically. And I know what you're kind of thinking, where does he pull this out of? Well, when he calls for the Mana Coffin, it kind of, basically, when he calls for the Mana Coffin, it kind of brings itself into existence. He then chants the chamber, or which chamber of the Mana Coffin he chooses to use, and whatever spell the chamber holds in the Mana Coffin, that's the spell that's released. There's many different spells, and like I said, it's going to be a very long video if I have to actually explain every spell in the Mana Coffin. So I'm not going to go through it right now. That will be a future video. But yeah, the Merchant of Ignitius makes his way to the sword, which has been sealed within the flame seal, and this is where he meets Fluverra, who is a horned elf, which is very interesting in this world because elves are not known for having horns, but there's a specific reason why she has horns. So keep a little asterisk around that as well. So the merchant, or Maximus, that's actually his actual name, which you learn later on in the story. Maximus the merchant. Let's just call him the merchant. I feel like that's the kind of thing that's been thrown around a lot in the webcomics. So the merchant then escapes from the seal, freeing Fluverra as well, as she chooses then to live. And we actually get a reveal to who she actually is later on. But during the reveal, we get an introduction to a Dark Knight, which is kind of someone who serves the Demon King. So after the whole fight, obviously Fluverra is out, we are then greeted by some type of flashback, and interestingly enough, we get a little glimpses of the past and what has already transpired in Fluverra's life, getting more insight to what exactly this world's all about. So we're then introduced to some sort of shadowy elven figures who seem to have some racial supremacy thing going on, as well as Fluverra's appearance seeming to indicate that her blood is not, in quotations, pure. The elves obviously think that their blood is the best blood out there. They are the superior race, and therefore breeding with another race is really a taboo in their society, basically. So they find a way to run the mother and the daughter out of the country and kind of exile them. And then we get this little glimpse of what seems to be a bargain. By the way, I didn't actually make clear of what the voices are here in this panel. The one voice on the left side is actually Fluverra's voice, whereas the other voice is this demonic thing's voice, obviously. So Fluverra is seeking some sort of power that whatever this demonic force is seems to give her, and for whatever reason, it's not quite expounded upon just quite yet. We are then introduced to what's left of a place called, or a city, a very famous trading city known as Ignitius. In the story, we learn that Fluverra has actually been trapped in the sword for at least 20 years. And through the merchant and Fluverra's little talk and walk, we learn that within the 20 years, we had 2 great wars and what's known as the Elven Takeover. So there's been 3 events that has happened over the last 20 years. The first event we have been introduced to kind of, which is the Burning Forest event, which was part of the First Great War as well. The part of the end of the First Great War. And then the Second Great War isn't actually announced just yet, or what exactly transpired and how it actually happened. But we do get a lot of information on the latest event, which is known as the Elven Takeover, which is kind of what the name implies, where the elves just basically colonized and took over everything. They just they're like, we're superior, all these races are below us, and we're going to take over everything. Now, the Elven Takeover takes place in 7 ABBF, so this is after the Second Great War that happened. And basically the elves colonized everything, as I've said before, and they killed off anyone that's in their way and opposed them. Bowsan was one of those people, the previous merchant of Ignitius, who was also, we learn, Maximus, or the merchant, the current merchant, his mentor. This is actually the point where we learn that 20 years ago, during the First Great War, some elves actually assassinated him and killed him. So it's kind of hinted at. It's not really explicitly mentioned, but that's kind of what happened. Also, the famous city of Ignitius was actually brought to this point during the Elven Conquest. And Ignitius is very, by the way, this is a little info on Ignitius. The people of Ignitius are very... they don't kind of adhere to law, so to say. Like, the city of Ignitius kind of run their own little country. So, and they are known for kind of rebelling against big powers. So, this, obviously, the elves noticing that they are very ginormous source of power, as well as housing Bowsan, one of the most powerful people that you will soon learn. He's extremely OP. As for a man with no magic, he's just completely OP, and obviously they had to take him out because they knew he would definitely be a threat in the future. So all the leaders of the countries feared Bowsan and respected him, even though, like I said, he had no magical abilities. However, he did have a vast knowledge on recreating, dismantling, as well as recreating spells, curses, and charms. So even though he didn't have magic, he found a way through his genius alone to manipulate magic in such a way in where he doesn't really need to manipulate magic with his own mana, power, or whatever. He could basically dismantle the spells and find a way to reassemble them and project them outward. It's a crazy process that I'm still working on at the moment. But yeah, he's very OP in knowledge. He's kind of just like one of those guys who kind of travels a lot, and you just don't mess with him. Like he can do anything. This guy is extremely powerful. It said that he could construct weapons that could rival gods themselves. So this guy is just, he's no one to be messed with. At this point, he's kind of been killed off for now. He didn't really get to accomplish what he seeks to accomplish because he was kind of killed before he could do much. So this is where we're at. And because he wasn't around, things just went downhill from there, as well as many other powerful kings who were in power kind of died off as well due to the Elven invasion, as well as the 2 great wars that were fought before this as well. It kind of faded out all the powerful people, so this is kind of what we're left with right now. So at this point, we kind of learn exactly why Fluverra has this deformity, as she has this horns coming out of her head as an elf. So we get another glimpse into Fluverra's past in another event that happened where the merchant projects herself and him into her mind, and this is where she kind of learns the blue starburst attack, which you guys should check out. It's an awesome attack. This is kind of where she learns that. So she gets a glimpse into her past, and we see she's wearing some type of clothing. Now this clothing is actually gonna be expounded upon later on, but briefly, this is just something that the warriors of the elves wore whenever they went into battle. This uniform was basically a specific attire which is worn by a certain division in the Elven army. So now we know that she actually was part of the Elven army, and we get another glimpse of another person that she remembers when she was practicing her blue star burst attack. And actually Jessica pointed this out when we were talking over live stream, and she actually made a theory that this guy is the Merchant of Ignitius, Maximus. Now, as the author, I'll neither confirm nor deny that fact. Okay, that is what it is. You guys figure it out. But from what I can tell from his red hair and the clothes he's wearing, this is actually something which has to do with the Red Dragon clan. They are mostly known for their red hair, and they wear this type of attire. So the Red Dragon clan is also one of the 7 royal clans from the Fire Kingdom, and these clothes are worn mostly by the Red Dragon clan. Later on, you actually see someone whose name is Tamao. I finally got the pronunciation of his name correct, and I kind of figured it out. But even though I named the guy, it's just, I don't know what was going on me on that day when I couldn't pronounce his name. But you realize that this guy was also from one of the 7 dragon clans from the Fire Kingdom. He is from the Purple Dragon clan, which is also, interestingly enough, a clan that branched off from the Blue and the Red Dragon clan. That's why it's purple. Little interesting fact right there. So I feel like that is about all I can go into right now without giving too much away, like any spoilers or anything. This is just basically the lore behind certain things in the Merchant of Ignitius. So if you're reading it, this kind of gives you a little bit more of clarity behind certain things, as well as let you know the lore behind most of the things. Obviously the lore will be discussed more in depth as you go along in the series, but I thought it'll be interesting just to point this out for now, so you can kind of get a gist of the world and how things work, how things going on. I will make a video in the future discussing the different types of characters, like my OCs, their personalities, their character traits, their magic system, the type of magic they use, the type of items they use. And it will be interesting because the merchant uses a lot of items in the series as well that is not really expounded upon or explained, and he just kind of uses it as the narrative goes along. He doesn't really explain it because he doesn't have the time to explain it because there's too much people off his ass. So I might explain that in the video series, but it will obviously be expounded upon once I do the revised version of my first season, because I was kind of rushed during this season because of the weekly deadline that I set for myself. So once I revise the first season, which I'm planning on doing soon, There will be extra panels, extra points in which will kind of just clarify certain points in the story, but won't change much of the story so far. It's just to clean up certain elements and certain things that are like small tweaks here and there that will keep everything consistent and just overall better the story. If you guys enjoy the video, don't forget to, roll up on that like button, give it a little handshake, and then, head on down to my subscribe, give him a little hi, and he'll hand you a bell. You give it a little ring just to notify you of any more content you would like to watch from my channel. Hope you guys are having a good day, night, and whatever time zone you're in. I hope you're having a great day. Stay awesome, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye now.